And whenever you counter this kind of situation, if you habitually think that, oh, this is so irritating, it's so annoying, it's so upsetting, it's so painful, I'm so desperate and so depressed, if you kept on saying all those negative words like this, and very little of those positive words, then all of your negative emotions, under such kind of mentality, you would continuously to say those painful words. Because your mind is suffering, then you would train yourself to accustom to such kind of habit. You would continuously to look at the negative aspect. It's so cold, it's so hot, it's so the seat is so short, the throw is so short, and the house is so tall. This person is so, and so on. Majority of the time, if you're doing that, you would probably have a difficult time to look at yourself and say that I do that. We would actually think that our way of thinking is very normal. In Buddhism, we talk about that suffering comes from our mind instead of any of even the tiniest cause that could come from outside. We would consider those are only the conditions. But majority of worldly people would consider that the suffering comes from external world. If you only think that it is the external phenomenon, it is the anybody else that is contributing to your happiness or suffering, then you won't gain any happiness at all. However, if you are good at taming your own mind, you will be able to have more happiness. If you look at the external phenomena, any little bit of suffering could eventually snowballing into a gigantic suffering. In fact, happiness and suffering are all graspings. If you continuously to accustom to it, it will increase. For example, if you train yourself to feel that I'm really happy, everything's great. It's raining outside, I'm really happy. It's not raining, that's great. It's great to see you. It's wonderful not to see you as well. Today I'm very full and I'm really happy about it. Today I didn't eat enough and I'm not full. I'm still a little bit hungry, but that's okay. I'm losing weight and I'm happy about that. I can be happy to sit in the shrine hall to listen to the class and see lots of practitioners. If I can't, then I can practice impermanence, and that's really wonderful too. In the Mahaparinirvana Sutra, in fact, it says that if you suffer from anxiety, then such kind of suffering and anxiety would continuously to grow. And if just like there are people who enjoy sleeping, and the more they sleep, the more they will sleep. Just such kind of pattern also are also applicable to drinking and so on. There are people who like sleeping. The more they sleep, the more they're accustomed to sleep. In fact, this is really a habitual pattern. I myself, I don't really sleep a lot. However, when I just came back, I didn't really have class to teach. I haven't really started translating. So I only attended some morning meetings, but that doesn't have to be so early either. So I spent a lot of time sleeping. At the beginning, I couldn't really sleep, but eventually I accustomed to sleep longer as well. So we can see that it is very easy to change our habits. Same as suffering. If you think about suffering more, then that kind of suffering will continue to grow. If you continue to think in such a way, then this kind of external conditions will contribute to your suffering. I think many people definitely have lots of this kind of mental disorder. In the West, lots of the psychiatrists and psychologists would be consulted if people feel that there's something wrong with their thinking or with their mind. But in Tibet it is quite rare. In mainland area, I think domestically in Tibet is rare, and in mainland area, I think lots of people really shy away from such kind of consultation. They don't really want to say that I have mental disorder. Let's talk about OCD, the obsessive compulsive disorder. Some of them would have obsessive compulsive disorder in terms of their actions, but this is very much based in their mentality. For example, they would feel that their window and door is open, and then they have to double check and triple check. They can barely sleep. They have to go back and check again. And there are people who had to wash their hands again and again and again. The hands, maybe their skin has already got rashes from washing, but then they can't stop themselves but compulsively wash their hands again and again. There are people who have the OCD towards arranging things, and all the little things has to go back to the original order, wherever they placed it. They have to have the things according to their habitual ways. There are people who would feel that there are so many hair and dust and so dirty from outside, so people and that kind of people would continuously to wash and wanting to clean their clothing again and again. Well, in the phenomenal world, there are external conditions. A little bit of those conditions are contributed from the external phenomena world. However, the majority reason is because the mind has some disorder. The modern psychologists also agrees in such a way. According to Buddhist practitioners, it is because the mind is in disorder, which is related to the previous karma as well as the education and the living situation. This is considered as one of the disorders, that everything has to be done according to the person's way, the one whosoever got OCD. Another disorder is persecutory delusion. They feel that other people is trying to hurt or harm them at all times. For example, if I give teachings today and there are people who would think that Kenpo doesn't like me. The way Kenpo looked at me is not normal. He stared at me. He rolled his eyes at me. He must want to hurt me or harm me. Or they would probably imagine there's some ghosts or spirits want to harm them, or imagine there are some fellow practitioners want to harm them. That is this kind of a delusion that a person could continuously to habituate to themselves with. I've heard that there are people who would say that you said so and so because you wanted to scold me in this class. It's because you don't like me. It's because so and so. Especially when I give teachings, when I give the practice teachings from the Kadampa tradition, because it's so sharp. There are people who would say that you're saying this to pointing fingers at me. But that's not true. Majority of the time, it's really a persecutory delusion. It's not a fact. That is also because one has not really tamed their mind. Their mind is very anxious. Their mind is rather quite fragile. In the Bodhisattva Charyavatara, it says that it is better not to be too fragile. If you are weak and fragile, it would contribute to suffering. Because if you're weak and fragile, you are then more prone to feel suffering. Another condition, I think I once read that there are people who would control others based on the name of love. For example, if I am a mother, I love my child very, very much. And she would think that because I love my child, I have to control my child. Did you eat yet? Have you eaten yet? You should eat more. You should eat less. Did you wash your hand yet? Turn off your light. Even if the child has already turned 40 or 50 years old, the mother would still think that the child should listen to her way of thinking. The child is no longer 1 or 2. Why are you micromanaging? There are times when I need to cross a road. Some fellow practitioners, whomsoever, stand beside me. They would say that, "Oh, watch out, there's a car, there's a red light." And I would think to myself, I'm not that stupid, am I? I mean, there's some smart yaks and goats. They would know how to cross the road as well. They know how to watch. But maybe because those are the habits from others, because of care and love, they would do so. They would macromanage. This is in fact also a disorder or a wrong way of training your mind. So this kind of controlling mind to the parents, the spouse, the parents and children relations, in fact, could also be very suffocating. And the majority of time, people who have such kind of deluded mind don't really know, and they would consider their deluded way and deluded way of thinking is the correct way, is a very normal action.